The Archangels descended from the heavens like radiant gods, their massive ships casting shadows over Earth's cities. Their presence, majestic and awe-inspiring, was met with mixed reactions from the crowds below. Their leader, cloaked in blinding light, delivered a message that echoed through the atmosphere. "We come in peace. Join the Galactic Order, and you shall prosper." The Archangels, beings of immense power, presented themselves as saviors. Their promises were grand: advanced technology, healing of diseases, and access to the stars. But these gifts came with a price. Hidden within their offer of peace was a darker reality. High above the planet, aboard their command ship, the Galactic Council watched the events unfold with cold detachment. "They don't know what's coming," one of the council members murmured, reviewing data on Earth's resources. The true objective was clear: strip Earth of its wealth, enslave its people, and add another world to the ever-expanding empire of the Galactic Order. This planet, rich in minerals and resources, was merely another conquest. The Archangels were not messengers of peace, they were conquerors wrapped in the guise of benevolence. On the ground, a group of world leaders sat in a hidden command center, far beneath the surface, watching the Archangels broadcast. The tension in the room was palpable. They had studied the Galactic Order's previous liberations of other planets. The pattern was always the same: arrive in peace, promise prosperity, and then subjugate the population through force. Earth had no intention of being the next in line. General Daniels, a grizzled veteran with sharp eyes and a commanding presence, broke the silence. "They think we're weak," he said, his voice low but full of conviction. "They think we'll roll over like every other planet they've conquered. But they have no idea what we've prepared." The screen in front of the group flickered, showing data streams and blueprints. It was time. Time to activate Project Hellhound, Earth's last hope. The room darkened, and a holographic image of a monstrous figure appeared. It was a hybrid of man and machine, a weapon designed in secret for this very moment. The Hellhound. No one in the room spoke, but the weight of their decision hung in the air. The Hellhound was not just a weapon, it was humanity's defiance personified. For years, Earth had been gathering alien technology from crashed ships, studying and reverse engineering it to create something that could rival the power of the Archangels. But this weapon came with its own risks. Daniel stepped forward, his voice steady, though the gravity of the situation was evident. "Activate the Hellhound," he commanded. The words felt final, like the pulling of a trigger on a loaded gun. There was no turning back now. A scientist in the corner hesitated, fingers hovering over the control panel. "General, once we activate it, there's no guarantee we'll be able to control it. The Hellhound is unpredictable. It was never meant to be deployed against something like this." Daniels didn't waver. "We don't have a choice. If the Archangels are allowed to carry out their plan, humanity is finished. The Hellhound is our only chance." With a reluctant nod, the scientist pressed the button. A low hum filled the room, and deep beneath the Earth's surface, machines began to whir to life. The Hellhound was waking up. In the dimly lit containment chamber, the Hellhound's eyes glowed a deep crimson. Its form, a blend of muscular human physique and advanced cybernetics, was terrifying and awe-inspiring. As it stood from its resting position, chains that had held it in place snapped, unable to contain its sheer power. The Hellhound, codenamed Cerberus, had been designed for war. It had no mercy, no hesitation, only the singular focus of protecting Earth at any cost. The communication system crackled, and a voice from command spoke directly to Cerberus. "Your mission is simple: neutralize the Archangels. Do not let them take control." The Hellhound's response was silent, but the beast understood. It had been created for this exact moment, a final act of defiance against an unstoppable enemy. Without delay, the Hellhound moved out, disappearing into the shadows of Earth's underground networks, headed straight for the heart of the invasion. Above ground, the Archangels were already making their moves, establishing control points and projecting their influence over human governments. Their ships hovered above cities, and their troops began to patrol the streets, enforcing the Galactic Order's will. Resistance was met with swift and brutal force. But the Hellhound was already in motion. Using Earth's terrain to its advantage, it moved through underground tunnels, sewer systems, and abandoned subway stations, staying out of sight as it closed in on the Archangels' positions. Its sensors, far more advanced than any human technology, scanned the area, identifying weaknesses in the enemy's formations. The first strike was precise and devastating. A group of Archangels, confident in their superiority, patrolled a major city. Without warning, the Hellhound emerged from the shadows, taking them by surprise. Its movements were a blur, a combination of brute strength and surgical precision. Before the Archangels could react, they were torn apart, their advanced armor shattered by the Hellhound's relentless assault. The Archangels, despite their power, were not prepared for this. Their strength lay in their overwhelming numbers and advanced technology, but they had never faced something like the Hellhound, something designed to exploit their weaknesses and strike where they least expected. As the battle raged on, it became clear to the Archangels that Earth was not the primitive, easy conquest they had imagined. The Hellhound was a living weapon, and it wasn't fighting to win, it was fighting to destroy. Back in the command center, the human leaders watched the live feeds of the Hellhound's rampage. A sense of grim satisfaction filled the room. The Archangels were learning, in real time, that Earth wasn't going to submit. Not without a fight. But as the Hellhound continued its mission, General Daniels couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The Archangels were powerful, but they hadn't shown their full hand yet. And neither had the Hellhound. The Hellhound's containment chamber hissed as its armored doors slid open, revealing the beast inside. Cerberus, now fully awake, stepped forward, its metallic limbs moving with an almost unnatural fluidity. Its sensory systems came online, scanning its surroundings with predatory precision. Its human side, once a highly trained soldier, was still present within, but the machine enhancements had turned that human mind into something far more dangerous. The Hellhound had only one directive: protect Earth at any cost, no matter the consequences. The command center watched the activation in real time. General Daniels stood with his arms crossed, eyes fixed on the screen. He had overseen Project Hellhound for years, knowing that it was their last resort. Cerberus wasn't just a weapon, it was a living embodiment of Earth's survival instincts. For years, the project had been kept secret, even from the highest-ranking officials. Only a handful of people knew what Cerberus truly was, and now the time had come to unleash it. The Hellhound's first target was an Archangel outpost on the outskirts of a major city. The outpost had been established quickly, its gleaming spires rising above the rubble, projecting the Galactic Order's dominance over the landscape. The Archangels, confident in their superiority, had begun setting up communication hubs, preparing to further their control over Earth's governments. Cerberus was sent to eliminate this threat before it could spread. As the Hellhound approached the outpost, it moved with calculated silence. Despite its massive size and advanced machinery, it could blend into the shadows, using the urban decay and natural landscape as cover. Earth's terrain had become its greatest ally. The Archangels, used to clean, structured environments, had underestimated the chaos of Earth's war-torn cities. The first strike was swift. Without warning, Cerberus launched itself at the outpost's perimeter guards. The Archangels, though powerful, were not prepared for such an attack. Their sleek, golden armor reflected the sunlight, making them appear invincible to human forces, but against the Hellhound, they were vulnerable. Cerberus moved with brutal efficiency, dismantling its targets with a combination of sheer strength and tactical precision. It was a machine of war, designed not to simply overpower but to outthink its enemy. One by one, the Archangels fell. Their advanced energy shields couldn't withstand the Hellhound's relentless assault. Each strike was calculated, each movement designed to exploit weaknesses in their defenses. Within minutes, the outpost's communication systems were disabled, leaving the remaining Archangels cut off from their command. Panic began to set in among the ranks, a rare occurrence for beings who were used to total control. Cerberus moved deeper into the outpost, its sensors constantly adapting to new threats. Every step was a measured move, every encounter a test of its capabilities. The Hellhound was not just relying on brute force, it was learning. Each engagement provided more data, allowing it to anticipate the Archangel's next moves. It was a living weapon, and the more it fought, the more dangerous it became. In the heart of the outpost, an Archangel commander emerged, flanked by elite guards. Unlike the others, this one was prepared for a real fight. The commander's armor shimmered with advanced tech, far more formidable than the standard troops. The elite guards moved with synchronized precision, their weapons glowing with energy as they prepared to face the Hellhound head-on. The ensuing battle was fierce. The commander was no ordinary foe, and the Hellhound recognized this immediately. For the first time, Cerberus found itself in a real challenge, as the commander's strikes were faster and more precise than anything it had encountered before. The elite guards worked in perfect unison, coordinating their attacks to overwhelm the Hellhound. But Cerberus adapted quickly. Its human side, the soldier within, began to assert itself more, relying on tactical training and improvisation. The Hellhound used the environment to its advantage, leading the Archangels into narrow corridors, using debris and collapsed structures to funnel their movements. It was a brutal dance of death, with both sides sustaining damage, but the Hellhound's relentless nature began to turn the tide. One by one, the elite guards were neutralized. The commander, now alone, stood facing the Hellhound in the ruins of the outpost's command center. In a final, desperate move, the commander unleashed a devastating energy blast, intended to incinerate the Hellhound in a single strike. But Cerberus, using its advanced reflexes and tactical analysis, dodged the attack with terrifying speed and precision. In one final, crushing blow, the commander fell, his armor shattered, and the outpost lay in ruins. With the mission complete, the Hellhound transmitted a brief signal back to command. The outpost was neutralized, and Earth had won its first real victory against the Galactic Order. But this was just the beginning. Cerberus returned to the shadows, moving on to its next target, knowing that the war was far from over. Back at the command center, the team watched the live feed with a mix of awe and fear. Cerberus had performed beyond their expectations, but it was clear that each battle was taking a toll. The Hellhound was designed to be unstoppable, but even it had limits. The Archangels would not be so easily deterred, and soon they would escalate their efforts. General Daniels knew that the Galactic Order wouldn't take this defeat lightly. The question now was how long Cerberus could keep fighting. The Hellhound was a marvel of engineering, but it was still bound by the constraints of its technology and human origin. Each engagement pushed it closer to its breaking point, and the more it fought, the more unpredictable it became. The team of scientists and engineers worked around the clock, monitoring every aspect of the Hellhound's systems, making adjustments where they could, but they all knew the risks. Daniels, standing at the edge of the command room, stared at the screen displaying Cerberus's progress. He couldn't shake the feeling that this was a temporary victory. The Archangels were far more powerful than they had shown, and Earth was still in grave danger. The Hellhound had given them a fighting chance, but it was just one piece in a much larger battle. As Cerberus moved silently through the war-torn landscape, it was already analyzing new data, preparing for the next encounter. The Archangels, once confident in their superiority, now knew they were facing something far beyond their expectations. They had thought Earth would fall easily, like so many other worlds before it. But now, with the Hellhound on the loose, they were beginning to realize that this planet would not be so easily conquered. Cerberus, the rogue weapon, continued its mission, undeterred by the growing challenge ahead. Its purpose was clear, and it would not stop until the Galactic Order was driven from Earth's skies, or until it fell in the process. Earth had sent its response to the Archangels' invasion, and the war had only just begun. The Archangels had underestimated Earth. What they expected to be a swift conquest had quickly turned into a chaotic battle of attrition. Their initial displays of power were met with defiance, and their forces had begun to experience something they had not anticipated: failure. The Hellhound's relentless assaults left them reeling, and the once assured victory now seemed distant. The Galactic Order was used to overwhelming its enemies with sheer force, but Earth's resistance was more than just stubbornness. It was tactical brilliance, and the Hellhound was at the center of it all. As more Archangels descended to reinforce their weakening grip, they quickly realized that the Hellhound had turned Earth's terrain into a weapon. Cities became traps, forests became ambush points, and the vast deserts became grounds for guerrilla warfare. The Hellhound moved like a phantom, impossible to pin down, striking with lethal precision before vanishing into the chaos it created. The Archangels, despite their strength, were struggling to adapt. Their superior technology gave them an edge in most battles, but the Hellhound was different. It wasn't just another enemy to overpower, it was a predator hunting them on its own terms. The Archangels had never faced such a foe. The Hellhound's strategies were ruthless, exploiting every weakness they didn't know they had. Where their soldiers moved in organized formations, the Hellhound disrupted them, leading them into disarray. Where they relied on overwhelming firepower, Cerberus used the environment to neutralize their advantage. It knew their tactics, their weaknesses, and it played them like a game. Each Archangel that fell was a blow to their confidence, and with every loss, the realization grew: Earth wasn't going to surrender. The Galactic Order, watching from afar, began to grow concerned. They had sent the Archangels, their most powerful enforcers, and yet Earth was still resisting. More than that, Earth was fighting back. The Hellhound's victories weren't just small skirmishes, they were turning points. Each destroyed outpost, each ambush patrol chipped away at the Archangel's dominance. The Order couldn't afford to lose Earth, it was too valuable a target, and their empire had never suffered a defeat like this. Realizing the Hellhound was the key to Earth's defiance, the Galactic Order decided to escalate. They sent their elite forces, Archangels of a higher rank, warriors who had never known defeat in battle. These were the commanders, the ones who had crushed rebellions across the galaxy, and they had been tasked with one mission: eliminate the Hellhound at all costs. Failure was not an option. The elite Archangels arrived in a massive strike force, descending from the skies in a display of raw power. Their armor gleamed brighter, their weapons pulsed with energy that could level entire cities. They spread across Earth, hunting for Cerberus, determined to bring an end to the Hellhound's rampage. They didn't know fear, they only knew victory. But Earth was not like the other planets they had conquered, and Cerberus was not like any foe they had faced. The Hellhound was waiting for them. It had been analyzing their movements, studying their patterns, and anticipating their next moves. The elite forces may have been stronger, but the Hellhound was smarter. Cerberus led them into carefully laid traps, using decoys, ambushes, and the terrain itself to whittle down their numbers. It knew their weaknesses, and it exploited them with precision. In one decisive engagement, the Hellhound faced off against a group of the elite Archangels in a desolate urban battlefield. The area was nothing more than ruins, twisted metal, shattered glass, and crumbling buildings. The Archangels, confident in their superiority, moved in a coordinated assault, their energy weapons tearing through the landscape. But Cerberus was ready. It struck from the shadows, picking them off one by one, never giving them the chance to regroup. The elite Archangels, despite their power, were no match for the Hellhound's relentless, calculated attacks. As the battle continued, the Hellhound began to reveal more of its abilities. Its advanced tactical systems allowed it to anticipate enemy movements, reacting faster than the Archangels could adjust. It used the ruins as cover, emerging only to strike before retreating again. Each Archangel that fell was a testament to the Hellhound's lethal efficiency. Their advanced shields and weapons meant nothing against Cerberus's sheer determination and cunning. But the elite Archangels weren't just soldiers. They were symbols of the Galactic Order's power, and they would not go down easily. Their leader, a towering figure clad in impenetrable armor, stepped forward to confront the Hellhound directly. This was not just a battle, it was a clash of wills, a fight for the future of Earth. The leader, wielding a weapon that could decimate entire armies, unleashed a barrage of energy that scorched the battlefield. The Hellhound dodged with unnatural speed, closing the distance between them in a matter of seconds. The ensuing fight was brutal. The Hellhound's claws met the Archangel leader's energy sword in a flurry of sparks and metal. Each strike was precise, each movement calculated. Cerberus fought with a combination of human instinct and machine precision, outmaneuvering the leader's brute strength. The battle raged across the ruined city, with explosions lighting up the sky as the two forces clashed. The Archangel leader, for all his power, began to falter. He had never faced an enemy like the Hellhound, one that didn't just rely on strength but on strategy, adaptability, and sheer willpower. With one final, decisive move, the Hellhound disarmed the leader, its claws tearing through the Archangel's armor. The leader fell, his defeat echoing through the ranks of the Galactic Order. The elite forces, seeing their leader fall, hesitated for the first time. The Hellhound had done the impossible. It had turned the tide of the war. The Galactic Order, so confident in their domination, now faced the reality that Earth wasn't just resisting, it was winning. As the elite Archangels retreated, battered and broken, the Hellhound stood victorious in the ruins. But this victory was more than just a battle won. It was a message to the Galactic Order. Earth was not like the others. Earth would not bow to their will. The Hellhound had shown them that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in its technology, or its armies. It was in its resilience, its ability to fight against impossible odds and win. The war was far from over, but the Hellhound had given Earth something it desperately needed: hope. The Archangels, for all their power, had finally met their match. The Galactic Order had sent their mightiest warriors, and they had been brought to their knees by a single, relentless force. The Hellhound wasn't just a weapon, it was the embodiment of Earth's defiance. And as long as it was still fighting, Earth would never fall. The Galactic Order, now realizing that their standard tactics had failed, prepared for their final assault. They gathered what remained of their forces, determined to crush the Hellhound and bring Earth to its knees. High above the planet, the Archangel Supreme, a being of almost mythic power within the Galactic Order, issued the order. This was no longer about conquering Earth, it was about retribution. Earth had humiliated them, and now they would leave nothing but ashes. On the ground, the Hellhound was ready. It had been monitoring the Archangel's movements, predicting their next move. Cerberus knew that the Order's desperation would push them to escalate, and that this final battle would be unlike any before. But the Hellhound was not alone anymore. Humanity, emboldened by Cerberus's victories, had begun to mobilize in ways the Galactic Order hadn't anticipated. Soldiers, engineers, hackers, and even civilians were working together, preparing defenses, creating new weapons, and sharing intelligence. The Archangels descended once more, but this time, their numbers were overwhelming. Their fleet darkened the skies, blotting out the sun, as they prepared to deliver the final blow. Earth's defenses, though scattered and battered, held strong, using every available resource to slow the invaders. But it was clear that this time, the Archangels were going all out. They unleashed their full arsenal, and the battlefield became a maelstrom of destruction. In the midst of the chaos, the Hellhound pressed forward, undeterred. Cerberus knew that the only way to end this was to confront the Archangel Supreme directly. The Supreme was not like the others. He was more than a warrior, he was a living symbol of the Galactic Order's power, and his defeat would mean the end of the invasion. But reaching him would not be easy. The Archangel's forces, though weakened, still posed a significant threat, and the Hellhound would have to cut through them to get to their leader. As Cerberus moved through the battlefield, it became clear that the Archangels had underestimated Earth's resolve once again. The Resistance, though outmatched in terms of firepower, had adapted quickly. Human ingenuity was on full display, makeshift weapons, sabotaged Archangel technology, and tactical strikes had begun to take their toll. The Hellhound wasn't the only force the Archangels had to contend with anymore. The Hellhound advanced, dismantling Archangel after Archangel, but the toll of the constant battle was starting to show. Cerberus, despite its power, was not invincible. Its systems were strained, its body scarred from countless engagements. But even as it sustained damage, the Hellhound kept moving, driven by the unyielding determination that had defined humanity's resistance from the start. Each step closer to the Archangel Supreme brought more challenges, but Cerberus faced them with the same relentless efficiency. Finally, the Hellhound reached the heart of the invasion, where the Archangel Supreme waited. Surrounded by an elite guard, the Supreme stood tall, radiating power that dwarfed even the strongest of his subordinates. His armor gleamed with energy, and in his hand he held a weapon forged for a single purpose: to eliminate the Hellhound. This was no ordinary foe, and Cerberus knew that this battle would decide the fate of the planet. The clash between the Hellhound and the Archangel Supreme was cataclysmic. Every strike from the Supreme sent shockwaves through the battlefield, tearing through the ground and obliterating anything in its path. But the Hellhound was fast, dodging and countering with precision, using every tactic it had learned from previous encounters. This wasn't just a battle of strength, it was a battle of wits. Cerberus exploited every weakness, every opening, trying to wear the Supreme down. The fight raged on, with neither side willing to yield. The Supreme, though immensely powerful, found himself facing an enemy unlike any other. The Hellhound, despite its battered state, fought with an intensity that defied logic. For the first time in his long existence, the Archangel Supreme felt something he had never known before: doubt. How could a single creation of humanity stand against the full might of the Galactic Order? How could one being, no matter how advanced, challenge an empire that had conquered entire star systems? But Cerberus wasn't just a weapon, it was the embodiment of humanity's spirit. The Hellhound fought not for itself, but for the survival of its people. Every strike was fueled by the determination of an entire planet, and the Archangel Supreme began to falter. His once unshakable confidence was crumbling, and with it, his control over the battle. Cerberus pressed the advantage, pushing the Supreme to his limits. In a final, desperate move, the Archangel Supreme unleashed the full power of his weapon, aiming to end the Hellhound once and for all. The blast tore through the battlefield, a wave of energy that seemed unstoppable. But in the chaos, Cerberus saw its chance. The Hellhound, with all the speed and precision it had left, dodged the attack and closed the distance between them. The final blow came swift and merciless. Cerberus, using every ounce of its remaining strength, struck the Archangel Supreme down. The leader of the invasion fell, his weapon shattered, and with him, the Galactic Order's hold over Earth crumbled. The remaining Archangels, seeing their leader defeated, began to retreat. The invasion was over. The Hellhound, standing amidst the wreckage, sent a signal back to the command center. The war was won, but the cost had been high. Cerberus, battered and damaged, stood as a symbol of Earth's victory. Humanity had faced impossible odds and prevailed, not through brute strength, but through resilience, strategy, and an unyielding will to survive. Back at the command center, the mood was somber but triumphant. General Daniels watched as the Archangel ships retreated into the sky, leaving Earth's atmosphere behind. The victory was hard-earned, and the scars of the battle would remain for generations. But Earth was free. The Galactic Order had been repelled, and humanity had shown that they were not to be underestimated. As the Hellhound powered down, returning to its containment, Daniels couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Cerberus had done what many thought was impossible. It had stood against the greatest force in the galaxy, and emerged victorious. But it wasn't just Cerberus that had won this war. It was all of humanity. The Hellhound had been their weapon, but the true strength came from the people who refused to give up, even in the face of overwhelming odds. The war was over, but the future was uncertain. The Galactic Order had been defeated, but they would remember this day. Earth had shown them that it was not just another world to conquer. It was a force to be reckoned with. And as long as humanity stood united, there was nothing they couldn't overcome. The Hellhound had fulfilled its purpose, but the spirit of its fight would live on. Earth had sent a message to the stars. They were not to be trifled with. And now, as the dust settled and the skies cleared, humanity began to rebuild, stronger than ever before.